Good evening, YouTube. What the crap's going on? HeirofCarthage here, and yes, I'm back in Total War Warhammer 2, and so are you now that you're watching the video. Thank you for being here, and we're going to have a battle between Karl Franz and a steam tank and an amber wizard, right? Interesting combination. You're not going to see these three together every day, and they have some even more interesting units with them that we'll cover here in just a minute, but they're up against an interesting army over here too from Norsca, which is going to be Wulfric, Soul Crusher, and a Fimir Balefiend, Lore of Fire. So love the character choices. Obviously Wulfric's fairly common, and Soul Crusher's not terribly uncommon, but still kind of a fun pick for Norsca. So let's take a look at both armies. For the Empire, there's going to be two Outriders with grenade launchers roving around the battlefield, attempting to do a lot of damage. Now, they are helping to be protected by a Zentler's Reichsguard, which has Vanguard deployed in the center of the Empire formation. This is going to be a very capable shock cavalry in terms of dealing damage on the charge. Lots and lots of damage. And then to support that, there are two units of Knights of the Blazing Sun. Knights of the Blazing Sun, of course, deal fire damage and will have a bonus versus anything that regenerates. And for Norsca, that's a few different units, including Skin Wolves and Werekin, and then also, I believe, Trolls would fit in that as well. So could be potentially useful against all three of those different units that you'd find on the battlefield. High charge, good armor, a little bit of shielding, and some very nice fire damage that they deal. Now, interesting to see an Amber Wizard here rather than the typical Life Wizard, which is going to be a pick that you would more commonly see, especially with a Steam Tank or Karl, because both of those units benefit greatly from healing. So we'll see whether this gambit and plan pays off. This is going to be an Amber Wizard, and he is rocking the Curse of Anra, which is going to take away melee attack and speed, and of course accuracy, but the melee attack and speed debuff by itself for 40 seconds is pretty significant. And then you got Wissen's Wild Form here, which is going to boost the weapon damage and armor of an ally. So interesting. And then for infantry, very, very little for the Empire because of the spin and the steam tank and the cavalry and Karl, so you've really just got a couple of spears and a unit of halberds. Sorry, 3 spears and a unit of halberds. Ugh. All right, 4 spears. All right, I can't count, folks, but you got 4 spears and the unit of halberds, so pretty insignificant infantry force from the Empire. But let's not kid. I mean, who does the Empire usually try to overwhelm with infantry anyway, right? Now let's take a look at the Norscan army. They're going to have this unit of Marauder Horsemen up front, and it's a Javelin variant. And then over here we've got 2 units of Marauder Horsemen with throwing axes, so nice little skirmish contingent from Norsca to be able to have some mobility and to harass key units. And then as for the infantry of Norsca, we can see that there are a couple of Marauders here, a couple Marauders with spears, there are a couple of Marauder Berserkers. But again, a huge spend in the more mobile components of Norsca here, with the Skin Wolves on either flank. These are just the standard variety. Wulfric on his warhorse, and he does have his Viking ship and Fight or Die. And then Soul Crusher is a whopping, 2,000 plus investment into just one unit, but he obviously packs a massive punch. And then Fimir Balefiend here has Piercing Bolts of Burning, and he's also got the Cascading Fire Cloak. I believe that's what that one is. Sometimes, yeah, Cascading Fire Cloak and Fireball. So that's going to be what he's rocking this battle. Let's hit play, and let's see how this one turns out. It's going to be a tough battle for the Empire in the sense that they have very little infantry, and for Norsca, it's going to be a tough battle in the fact that they have to deal with 3 very heavy cavalry, a steam tank, and Karl Franz. They have numbers on their side, and you can see that. Actually, the numbers are about equal, so my bad. I was thinking Norsca really had numbers on their side. They really don't. It's about equal. So like I said, we'll just kind of see how this plays out. So early on, Karl is going to be trying to push back the Marauder Horsemen so that the grenade launchers can operate. Over here, the Skin Wolves are pushing forward as if that they wish to engage the Outriders, and I'm sure they would like to. However, what they don't want to engage is the Knights of the Blazing Sun, who just got buffed by Wissen's Wild Form, and they are going to absolutely wholesale slaughter the Skin Wolf unit. It is going to be rough for the Skin Wolves. They are going to get wrecked really, really quickly before any help can arrive. The grenade launchers are trying to do some damage to the Marauders as they push forward, and then over here there was a harassment charge well, I mean, I don't actually know if they ended up connecting, but the grenade launchers are doing some stupendous work over here. And you can see in this direction we're going to have the Zentler's Reichsguard and other units. Look at this, the fireball intended for the Empire, but actually snags Soul Crusher instead. It takes off a little bit of his enormous amount of hit points, so no doubt there that was a benefit for the Emperor. Speaking of the Emperor, he's still here in the middle, and Wulfric is definitely gunning for him. Wulfric's stats sometimes belie his capabilities because of some of his unit abilities. See this Hunter of Champions? That can usually cause a lot of damage. He doesn't have a ton of armor piercing, but he's a tough unit. He's definitely a tough unit. Don't underestimate him, even though on paper here, Karl's stats look very good compared to him. Soul Crusher is just going to be very difficult to kill. We're going to have the steam tank that's sitting back and shooting. It's done a little damage to him, and also been doing some targeting on Wulfric, and some piercing bolts of burning. After having done a lot of damage, this unit's already picked up a chevron, and the Knights of the Blazing Sun is going to now crush this Marauder Spearman from behind with a quick charge. They're taking a lot of damage from this Marauder Horseman, but I mean, they are certainly being valuable. Here comes another fireball, this time intended for the Amber Wizard. It does land a little bit of damage, but it's not too tremendous. Karl and his Knights are having some success over here in the sense that Wulfric takes a big beating, and that's not ideal for Wulfric. Here he is here, the Wanderer, wandering about in front of Soul Crusher. That's a somewhat dangerous place to be in life. And the grenade launchers are continually raining on this fight, which is decimating the infantry, but not doing a ton of damage to Wulfric or the Mammoth, which are really going to be the difficult parts of this army to stop. See the Viking ship coming up over here, not really hitting home on any targets. And we're going to have the Knights of the Blazing Sun again. This unit here now, double chevron. Going to finish off once again a unit of Skin Wolves unless they're saved by Wulfric in time. So a very impressive performance from that Knights of the Blazing Sun. 92 kills, double chevron. This Knights of the Blazing Sun almost has a chevron, but it's had to fight the Mammoth, and that fight has not been pretty for the Zentler's Reichsguard or the Knights of the Blazing Sun. Tough units, these heavy cavalry, and even with the Curse of Honor Air affecting them, these Mammoths just deal so much damage. It's armor piercing, yes, it's anti-infantry, but it's just tremendous damage. Now look at this, Karl gets hit by the Hunter of Champions. All I'm saying with Mammoths is you never want to underestimate these units, like, oh, they're fighting against a large unit, or they won't be good versus large. They're not specific against it, but they have a lot of hit points. They dish a lot of damage, and it has a heavy armor penetration and a lot of splash. So, and then there's a lot of charge usually involved. So just be aware that Mammoths will cause a lot of damage to basically anything on the battlefield. Basically anything. Now back here, these Marauder Horsemen with axes are tearing through some halberds. These Outriders have to watch out for those units. They don't want to get tangled up with them. Khmer Balefiend is over here fighting an entire unit of Spearmen, but at least he's been kept busy. There are some units in the background. The Spearmen took off chasing a Marauder Horse unit, so it's become far out into the background. If we take a look at what the Empire's got left, Karl has now taken a significant amount of damage. Wulfric has taken hardly any damage since that one engagement, so he's actually looking to be in pretty decent shape. Another ship does a little damage here, not a whole lot of damage. Wulfric honestly doesn't have a whole lot that he's done in terms of kills, though he has managed to dish a fair amount of damage on Karl and use the Hunter of Champions at key moments. And it's certainly played a role. And right now it's showing fairly even on the balance of power. But Soul Crusher and Wulfric are going to be the targets. They have to be taken off the battlefield if the Empire is going to prevail. And for a moment here, we're going to see the Empire basically ignore Soul Crusher. And that's what they should be doing right now. Focus on everything else on the battlefield and then try and deal with Soul Crusher. Difficult to deal with, because he's going to be one nasty piece of work to try and deal with. You can see Wulfric just trying to get away over here. He's chasing down some routing knights. He definitely wants to stay away from the cannon, and then you can see the cannon picks up on Balefiend, who routs. And definitely this unit needs to be taken off the battlefield as well. And then Karl and the Amber Wizard really need to watch out over here. They don't want to get tangled up in combat, and that's unfortunately exactly what happens to the Amber Wizard. Now Karl decides to turn around. These Axemen are almost out of ammunition, but they can be useful for something besides using their ammunition, and you're going to actually see that play initiated here, which is they're just going to use their mass to hold the Amber Wizard or Karl, who are only on horses, to hold them and not let them get away. This is going to allow Soul Crusher and Wulfric to close the distance. And again, the Curse of Anraer here, a good call, but there's just, look at that. That Mammoth snagged Carl with a little bit of that charge there. And then the Amber Wizard gets stuck, so the Amber Wizard's toast. It's finished. That's a huge loss for the Empire at this point. And Carl took that glancing hit from the Mammoth, which took off almost half of the hit points that he had left at that point. And the Spearmen way back here chasing these horsemen desperately needed back up here in the fight. The Empire needs everything they can get. So Norska's starting to gain a little momentum up in the power bar, and then it's only going to be furthered by the fact that Carl gets into this fight and Wulfric lands a big ol' hit on him. And Carl gets routed, and now there are Marauder horsemen chasing him, and Soul Crusher nearby, as well as Wulfric chasing. And there he goes. The Emperor's down, and he would have taken a friendly fire cannonball. It's almost like he asked the cannon crew to kill him if he was going to suffer a dishonorable fate to Wulfric. So yeah, now there's a Mammoth and a very nice hit from the cannon. The cannon's unbreakable. It won't be able to sit around in melee with Soul Crusher, but if it can do some damage from distance. But here, yet another soul-crushing blow to the Empire, pun intended, as their grenade launchers get caught by some of the Marauder horsemen and stuck in combat and then terror routed. And they'll be chased down freely by those units. Only so much ammo left for the steam tank. Right now it's firing on the Marauder horseman. It really needs to down Wulfric. He's not as easy of a target though either. But this is going to be a problem. That steam tank can't fight these two units head on. It needs to use its gun to do so, but its gun was focused on the Marauder horseman rather than, say, Wulfric to try and get a kill on him. Steam tank takes a fireball. Not tremendous damage, but what will be tremendous damage is the giant Mammoth pushing the tank around. And you can see that very quickly the steam tank starts taking tremendous damage. And there's very few units for the Empire to support this right now. The steam tank will do a brief retreat, looking to get out of that fight. Its steam gun able to do some work on the pursuing infantry, but there's really no getting away from Soul Crusher at this point. And the last hope of the Empire here, the steam tank of Sigmar, trying to get revenge for their fallen Emperor, will simply be overwhelmed by Soul Crusher. Hope you all enjoy some good Mammoth footage here. Wulfric's going to come in for it as well. There's just nothing left for the Empire. So, very interesting battle. Nice fight. This one actually started off early with some very big wins for the Empire. But in the end, just not able to bring down that Mammoth. Not quite able to do it. A very valiant effort and an enjoyable effort to watch. I loved the action from the Knights of the Blazing Sun and how they just absolutely crushed the Skin Wolves, and obviously would have been good versus Ice Trolls or Trolls as well. But, you know, in this case, they just couldn't deal with that Mammoth. The Mammoth is something that, I mean, definitely, you know, persistent fire from the steam tank throughout the battle on either Wulfric or Mammoth. I saw it a couple of times. Wulfric took some pretty big damage from that steam tank not long before that. Now, he is a tougher target just being on that horse, but if you're scoring some hits, the cannon on the steam tank does do tremendous damage to any big targets like that. So, fun battle between Puggington and Tugo, or Tuga, or whatever it is. Yeah, I don't know if I can pronounce it. Tuga, I think. So Soul Crusher indeed crushing the soul of the Empire by downing their steam tank in the end of that one, and Wulfric wandering his way to victory over the Empire, and Karl Franz, who was sent home to summon the Coffin Counts, where there will be a state funeral soon. So hope you all enjoyed this one. I know I did. Thanks to Puggington, thanks to Tuga there, and definitely appreciated the play from both of them. You all tell me what you enjoyed about this one. What would you do different, if anything, in those scenarios for either player? What is something that you may have done different? So if you enjoyed it, go hit that like button for me. It helps out a lot. If you didn't like it, get down in the comments. Tell me what I need to do better. And of course, if you want to see more, make sure you are subscribed and you have clicked YouTube's idiotic bell so that you can get notifications if they decide to send them. I hope to see you all soon with some more Total War Warhammer 2 action. HeirofCarthage, signing out for now.